Crisis Radio. So this is the week when Goldman Sachs announced $13.4 billion in obscene super profits. You often hear they paid back the TARP. Yeah, they paid back the Treasury bailout, but don't forget, they're getting 0% credit from the Federal Reserve, hand over fist. They're getting a public subsidy, maybe not by the Treasury anymore. That was what they needed during the acute phase of bankruptcy. Now they just use the Fed, and the Fed refuses to divulge how much. So that's what Bernanke's got to be held accountable for. Bernanke, Cohen, and the rest of them must fall. Get rid of them, can them, and don't put Dodd in there. Put in some kind of a reformer, something like a new dealer who would then guide the Fed into where it belongs, a bureau of the U.S. Treasury subject to law, congressional determination of the size of the money supply, the interest rate, and the approved categories of lending, public law, House, Senate, signed by the President, all out there in the light of day. The Obama White House gradually making the discovery that if you act as a Wall Street puppet, which is what he's been doing up to now, you take a beating, and Wall Street stabs you in the back on the way. That's what Obama was talking about in his speech yesterday. He was whining about the fact that they send in armies of lobbyists. He saves them, he pays them, he serves them, and they still send in armies of lobbyists to oppose his cosmetic measures. Here's what we have. The Washington Post quotes a top Obama advisor saying, the White House message for the midterm congressional elections is, every time we, the administration, announce an economic policy that Wall Street does not like, the Republicans are standing right there with Wall Street defending them. Oh, what a discovery. Better late than never. Washington Post also comments, Republicans offered a muted response to the president's proposal, suggesting that they recognize the political dangers of siding with big banks when there is a 10% unemployment rate, depressed housing prices, and increased voter anger. Make that an 18% unemployment, underemployment officially, and probably more between 20 to 25. So you get the idea, if you do anything against Wall Street, the Republicans are forced out of their cultural populist cover and into action to defend Wall Street. Now, the starting point, of course, this is the Massachusetts Senate race. Let's turn to this for a minute. I have an article about this. I urge you to take a look. The Massachusetts Senate race, a populist protest vote against Wall Street puppets. And here's the thing. In a depression, which is what we have, voters look for populism. But they are not sophisticated. They don't realize there are two kinds of populism. One is economic populism. Economic populism is concrete, programmatic. It means you attack Wall Street, you break the power of Wall Street, you shift the burden of the depression onto Wall Street, make the bankers pay for the crisis that they have created, tax them, reform them, regulate them, box them and shut down the zombie banks, and so forth, and then use that to deliver concrete economic benefits to the American people, a rising standard of living, full employment, decent health care, and the rest. Fight for the people means fighting against Wall Street in terms of concrete actions. Now, unfortunately, the Democratic Party in the Obama era is a bunch of Wall Street shills and puppets, and that goes for Pelosi, for Reid, for Barney Frank, the most visible Democrat in Massachusetts, except for Governor Deval Patrick, who, of course, is somebody who spouts the same messianic utopian rhetoric as Obama. You can see my story about him, Deval Patrick, Brzezinski's Spare Obama, from 2 years ago in the campaign. The voters look for populism. If they can't find the real thing, economic populism, New Deal measures, right? Franklin D. Roosevelt was the greatest economic populist of the 20th century. But if you can't find real populism, economic populism, you go for the fake cultural populism. Cultural populism is a con job. It's hoodwinking, duping. And that basically says, we're just plain folks here, so vote for us because we have, your values, and your culture, and, well, just give examples, right? In the case of the Massachusetts election, this guy, Scott Brown, of course, is an elitist. He's a wealthy elitist. Scott Brown is a wealthy lawyer, a professional politician. His wife is a television anchor. His daughter is on American Idol, and so forth. This is not a man of the people at all. Who are we kidding? But, of course, what he does, he says, I drive a pickup truck. I drive a pickup truck with 200,000 miles on it. You may remember Lamar Alexander, wealthy elitist from Tennessee, once ran for president on the basis of the fact that he wore a plaid shirt. Reagan had jelly beans. Bush had horseshoes and pork rinds. And, of course, today, Limbaugh, right? What's Limbaugh's stock in trade? Is to mock the politically correct cultural pretensions of effete snobs, Northeast liberals, and so forth. Look at Palin. What does Palin have to offer? Nothing but fakery, cultural populism, saying, yeah, I can field dress a moose. I can hunt. I can fish. I shoot reindeer from a helicopter. I do this, right? I carry a Bowie knife. Who cares? What are you going to do for the people? And, of course, these con artists skin you alive, and this happens again and again. This demagogy is especially dangerous for us today, because at the end of that cultural populist trail, the folksy trail, is, well, fascism. Think of the principal newspaper of the Nazi Party was called Der Völkische Beobachter, the folksy observer, the folksy philosophy, right? This Völkisch, of course, folksy, populist, something like that, that's fascism. If you take that to the extreme form. In other words, people that are culturally like us are good, but culturally, ethnically, are not good. That's what you have to fight. That is the absolute nadir in this regard. So what we have here is Scott Brown. He's a cultural populist. Now, unfortunately, this Coakley, politically correct, rather extreme social positions, I get the impression. She's essentially a deconstructionist. She shows her contempt for Joe Sixpack, saying, what am I supposed to do? Go to Fenway Park and stand in the cold and shake hands. Well, of course, that's what you have to do. That's what it means in a democratic system. She also went on vacation for 2 weeks. Oh, my God. A 2-week vacation in the Bahamas, or was it the south of France, the Riviera? Not too many of us get to take those vacations there, Martha. You think you get it. Well, this is the result. She violates cultural populism by not knowing that Schilling is from the Red Sox. She offends Catholics, and so forth. An absolute disaster. So populism wins, and if there's no economic populism, they'll vote for a cultural populist, and that's what you have here.